When we look at the forum of influential people and successful as Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein, Nelson, and many other historical figures, it is common to be taken by a feeling of inadequacy. Their lives seem filled with great deeds, achievements, and one unquestionable purpose, while our sometimes may appear small and impactless. However, what we often forget is that the meaning of a life is not defined only by great achievements or world fame, but for the small daily actions, by the internal battles that each one faces, and by searching constant through self-knowledge and personal growth. Just like them, we are also capable to tread a path of meaning. Only ours is unique, shaped by the shadows we integrate, by the flaws we overcome, and the moments in which, despite the fear, we choose to act. In several of his works, Carl Jung addressed the search for meaning and self-knowledge. According to Jung, the purpose of life, it's not related to what you conquer, is related to who you are and how you act. For that, the human being can be described in its entirety by the psyche, that encompasses both the conscious aspects as the unconscious. At the center of our consciousness, that includes everything we know and recognize, is the ego. But there is much beyond the ego that we don't recognize, at the heart of our unconscious. That represents all that is involved for us, find whether our shadow or our dark side. Jung claimed that not unconscious lies the key to discovering our purpose in life. That because the purpose of your life is not something objective or universal, it's unique, specific to you. Carl Jung was one psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who ended up founding his own school of psychology, known as cognitive psychology. His philosophy is often called philosophy Jungiana. He also published several important works, between them, The Psychology of the Unconscious, Man and His Symbols, The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Modern Man in Search of Soul, Transference Psychology, Dream Memories, Reflections and the Relationship Between the Ego and the Unconscious. In this video, let's explore the steps you need to follow so that your dark side reveals purpose of your life, according to Carl Jung's philosophy. Jung said, "Your visions will become clear just when you can look into your own heart. Whoever looks out dreams. Who looks inside, awake." Each person has a unique meaning and purpose in life, according to who she is and what she wants. Therefore, you need to really know yourself before trying to understand the purpose of your life. Many people believe that they know each other well. You can find who is familiar with its characteristics, strengths, weaknesses, and desires, and so might be tempted to dive straight in pursuit of its purpose. However, to really get to know each other, you have to go through what Jung called auto-realization. Every human being is made up of both conscious parts. How unconscious? The aspects of ourselves that we know, and those of whom we are not aware. The shadow, or the dark side, is the hidden part of our unconscious that harbors desires, repressed emotions, and characteristics. For example, your shadow may contain feelings of laziness, envy, or anger, as well as hobbies or interests you are ashamed of. Or do you think you should have gotten over it by now? As the shadow resides in the unconscious, we are generally not aware of what is in it. These traits were repressed and ignored for so long that no longer appear in our thoughts. Instead, we tend to identify too much with our persona, the role we play, unconsciously to be accepted or admired by others. This person acts like a mask we use when interacting with the world, and we can have several masks for different situations. Reconnecting with your shadow takes genuine effort. Perform what Jung called shadow work, i.e., know your dark side. Involves taking regular breaks to reflect on your behavior, thoughts, and feelings in everyday life. This can be done by writing in diaries or meditation. Ask yourself, why act the way that act? It looked authentic. Because yes or because no? Which, it was my first instinct in a given situation, how I would feel if the roles were reversed. It's like you're interrogating yourself from the same way you would with someone else. Jung thought he would know his shadow. Does not mean identifying with her. You don't need to define yourself by the characteristics. That usually hides. For example, if your shadow harbors anger, it is not necessary to see yourself as an angry person. Instead, just recognize and accept the existence of these traits. Understand that they are part of you, but they don't completely define you. Another way, as the characteristic features of your shadow usually manifest, it is through the judgment of others. The characteristics or behaviors you despise in others are often those you fear in yourself. This is called a projection. Therefore, whenever you get angry or are angry at someone's behavior, take one break and ask, I have already presented this trend, but because, is this one trace of my own shadow? According to Jung, those who judge selfishness harshly often repress their own selfish thoughts, and those intolerant of the impatience of others may be struggling with their own. Impatient. Take time every day to sit down. Maybe write in a diary. And if you ask these thought-provoking questions, is the beginning to bring the unconscious to consciousness, knowing each other for real. Create the habit of exploring. Your shadow is essential to continuously approach of a life significant. In Jung's words, I don't aspire to be one good man. I aspire to be one full man. Now that you found out more about your unconscious, and perhaps on some less desirable bleak strokes, you may be wondering, how can it help me improve my life? Actually, you might feel even worse after this self-realization, for you will no longer be able to ignore all your bad sides. Jung recognized that finding out who you really are is one extremely painful and frightening process. Many people believe who repress the bad parts of themselves, never showed, is one effective way to get rid of them completely. After all, those who can contain their anger aren't the nicest people. And those who overcome their laziness are not the most curious people. Well, yes, but also not. Though it's good to want to be better, ignoring your traits will not make them disappear. Repress the dark features. Usually gives them more power. They latent inside you. And when you're tired, stressed, or borderline, they suddenly explode. People who don't recognize their anger are precisely those with frightening outbursts of anger. From time to time, those who ignore their laziness end up suffering from exhaustion. Ignoring something doesn't make it disappear. Now that you know your shadow, can finally do something with her. Whatever you find in your shadow, use these strokes to your advantage. In anger, for example, it's only bad if it's excessive or disproportionate. But when someone really hurts you, anger can help you. Defender, the question you should ask yourself is, when it is right to act based on one emotion, and when it's better not to act. When should I support myself in my mask and persona, and when I don't need them? When thinking about your emotions in a deeper way, instead of labeling them as Boaz owe you more, you will greatly improve your life and well-being. Envy can be a motivator. The sloth can give you the rest you need. Impatience can make you more active, if the context is suitable. In other words, you need to find ways to integrate it all. That discover in your shadow, your personality, instead of ignoring it. Your shadow is not here to punish you, but to teach you. These repressed traits are here to stay, and only when you accept and embraces its dark qualities is that it can, in fact, improve yourself, self-knowledge, and the ability to use all sides of yourself are what you need to discover the purpose of your life. Once your shadow is integrated, you become more yourself. You will be more involved, harmonious and authentic. When you know how to use your shadow, you will have found out who you really are. And with that, it will be much easier to understand what you really want and need from life. Self-improvement is another form of work. With the shadow, that never ends. There's always something to improve when you continue to. Getting better is adding meaning to your life. That's second. You are what you do, not what you say you will. When you know who you are, how can you better cope with your dark features and what you believe? You need to demonstrate this. The purpose of life cannot be found only in thoughts, but in practice. Jung believed that self-realization needed to be shown by you do, and not by what you say. After all, you can only say that it is in a certain way and want certain things. If you act this way, it means you shouldn't live your life reactively, not just reacting to what happens, but also starting something in your life. Instead of waiting for people to approach you, go back and make friends. Instead of waiting for a promotion, create a plan and pursue thee. And instead of waiting for your life to gain meaning, make your life meaningful with your actions. Currently, most of us live reactively. Even those who actively seek to explore their shadow and improve themselves. Working on yourself is a great first step, of course, but it's not enough to start acting on other areas of life. Actually, after doing the work with the shadow, you might think that now you can relax. But standing still in life is what holds you back, a lack of meaning. Sure, but how to start living actively? Simple. Challenging. After taking the steps to explore continuously your shadow and improve himself based on what he discovered, you should also keep taking some extra steps. Ask if often. What I believe. Which spiritual or religious beliefs. What moral principles. What values. Like garlic daily. What I want to do this year and the next 5 years. How I want to contribute to the world. What I expect from others. You can write about these questions or ponder them. The answers are clear clues. What kind of actions should you take? You can, for example, want to become one author with a published work. Many people want, but many of these people do not take many actions to achieve this goal. They wait for inspiration, for a quieter time, and eventually believe that the book will write itself. They still live reactively. Think that when the right moments come, the book will flow. But it's not like that. What someone who really wants to be an author need to change. An aspiring author who takes action. Writes frequently in a programmed manner, regardless of whether inspired or not. When he gets stuck, actively search for advice or exercises to follow in. Front it ends one story, even if not for motivation, but by discipline. And after that, he proactively gets in touch with people from industry, editorial, as literary agents. Of course, many find no meaning in career goals. Instead, your personal ideas about the life can be more abstract. You can want to positively influence the new configurations. For example, this can be done in several ways. Becoming a parent, professor, choose an NGO for young people, working as a youth counselor, political, among other possibilities. It's up to you to decide what way do you want to achieve this goal and what actions are required. Always that if you ask questions about your values and beliefs, we'll need to decide how you can work for them. And what action should you take? It is possible to survive living reactively, but it is not possible to find meaning in a reactive life. Meaning requires action. Jung once said, "Where is your fear, there is your task." one of the main reasons why people live reactively. It's not just the sloth, and often, not even lack of motivation. Most of the time, avoidance of action results from fear. Acting requires risk, and that can be daunting. When you have an idea for a book, need to risk getting hurt. With your own writing to put, the non-paper, once the book is written, you need to be prepared for a lot of rejections. If you want to publish it, every action that you can take may result in something negative. You need courage to be active. Courage does not come from the absence of fear. Fear should not be avoided. If you ignore it, he will return to his shadow and control your life even more. Instead, he must be recognized when you see yourself before an action that needs to be taken, but feel it moving. Ask yourself what can go wrong, and how could you deal with it? Fear can often be controlled by preparation. But do not confuse preparation with rumination or anxiety. Focus only on likely scenarios. No amazing impossibilities. If you want to publish one book, prepare to be rejected by multiple agents, or even so that no one is interested in representing low, but also be prepared to find one agent. Or to publish low on its own. Don't waste time imagining endless rejections. Someone stealing your idea, or being ridiculed. These thoughts are unlikely and useless. By analyzing your fear and dealing with it through preparation, you will have already overcome most of it. The feeling of fear, maybe it never completely disappears, but when you do what you can to minimize it, there will be only one thing left: dive headfirst. Courage demands that you face your fears, instead of trying to get rid of them. No one who has done anything meaningful in life got this, avoiding what scared him. As Jung said, where is your fear? There's your next task. When you find out what you fear, also find out what is likely will make more sense of your life. In our last quote from Jung, he says, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness," and the word happy would lose its meaning if it weren't balanced by intelligence. Let's think. You know yourself, is always improving, is taking action and taking risks. This is the recipe for a perfect life. No one has a perfect life. Actually, the most influential people in the world generally are those who have gone through the most difficulties, and that happens because they are the ones that assume the most risks. Don't let bad situations get them down, and continue to fight no matter what happens. Accept the bad and disappointing things in life is essential to finding meaning and purpose. Actually, the meaning depends on it. A life that consists only of triumphs and joys, it's not a meaningful life. Because joy is only impactful when you also knows the tribe. One cannot win without defeat being a possibility. There can be no light in dark. It means whenever something bad happens, you need to recontextualize it. Don't despair, but think that anything good that happens to, from now on, it will be even better. In addition to contextualizing the good in life, bad luck and mistakes are opportunities for growth. Whenever something happens, your reaction to this teaches you something new about yourself. The bad things, then, are essential for your self-discovery, and are also useful when it comes to knowing your shadow. No one finds out who needs to be more pragmatic, unless you failed to be so at some point. And no one discovers that they are resilient and strong unless something in your life demanded it. Let's say, may your novel be rejected by all the publishers you sent it to. Or you quit a steady job to go back to school and ended up failing. Of course, now you has more context to appreciate the good things to come. You learned something, but it gives more meaning to your life. The meaning of life, seconds of that, is not in achieving the goals you have set, is in action and self-discovery. With this, he means his life doesn't become meaningful because you've become one published author or one successful. She got meaning by what you made to get there. And so, even those who don't get there now, they know they are the type of person who takes action. They are unique and undeniably themselves. And that in itself is the most significant part. Add meaning to your life never ends. You need to keep discovering yourself, your goals, and take action. You will continue to experience good and bad things, and that's what makes your life so special. Your unique combination of disappointments and joys, your actions and attempts, and your determination. Always be proud of what you tried. That's where the purpose comes from. And finally, value all that is good in your life. No matter how much you've accomplished, no matter how small, be proud of it. Anything who works well in your life, be grateful for this. And no matter what happens, know that your life has a purpose, as long as you're the best of yourself.